Hi guys, William Morris here, and today we're going to be taking a look at Mosaic Tape from Heavyocity. So this library is made for both the full and player versions of Kontakt 6.4.2 and above, and it has an install size of just over 2 gig. It's currently on a launch price of $99, and then it goes up, I believe, to $149 later on. So this library is a collection of playable, rhythmic, and ARP sounds that have all been processed using various techniques involving tape. So the whole library is just this one patch, but to browse the various presets, we just go up to the snapshot fold at the top, and there are over 100 different snapshot presets to choose from, spread across the 3 categories of ARP, playable, and rhythmic. So in each one of these snapshot patches, it is then divided into these 3 channels that you see at the bottom here, which are essentially just 3 different sound source layers. And depending on the patch, these are either spread into key zones, like they are here, or on some of the tune percussion or piano style patches, it's just everything across the whole keyboard. Now you can also use these layer selectors here to browse the sound source library, and there's over 100 different sound sources in total. So obviously here we have orchestral and a whole list of stuff within that. There's keys and tune percussion, some choir stuff, a noise library, and some attacks. This options panel that we're in at the minute is also the place where you can choose how the sound sources are spread across the keys. So it's really nice and flexible if you just want to play all layers at once. But let's go back onto the main mixer page. And so here you can see the main macro controller, and also these 6 other macro controllers off to the sides. So as you can see on this main one, you have this little dot that moves around the slider to kind of show the position in the macro sequence, and we can also use this control to basically just adjust the start point or the kind of focus area of the macro. There's also loads of individual control for the macro effects. So say on this one here on the filter, we can obviously turn it on and off. Clicking this filter bit here will take us into a more detailed kind of view of the filter control. We can also edit the start and end points of where the filter slides from and to, and this little one on the end can be used to reverse the flow of the slider as well. So tons of control over the macros, and this section does add a huge amount, I think, to the patches, whether you're just going for subtle sort of modulation throughout the patch, or whether you want to do something really drastic with gating, or kind of transform a patch into something rhythmic. There's a huge amount of control here. So that covers a couple of the main pages. The only other one really is the ARP section, which we'll get onto when we actually listen to some of the ARP patches, and the macro sequencer as well, actually, which is really cool because you kind of have this this panel here reflects the main control at the top. So as you can see, we're kind of going through a ramp up and ramp down thing at the minute, but you can obviously set that to whatever sort of shape you want. And there's also some preset ones here. So if I just wanted to ramp up, you could maybe have this set on the filter and say at the top here, the filter's going to be maybe really open, and then it's going to gradually kind of filter down, or you could obviously do the opposite as well as being able to set all your controls for the amount of steps and the rhythmic rate and stuff like that. Finally, on the end is just the master effects section, fairly standard in here, and a lot of you who have Heavyocity or other libraries will kind of recognize a lot of these controls from some of their other UIs, especially this punish dial in the middle, which is kind of reminiscent of the one on damage. The cool one to note on here though is this aging panel, which is specific to the tape, obviously. So we have a wear control. We also have the tape warble, so you know, little pitch warbles. Really nice to have. And the last one just lets you mono something out. Okay, so that's a brief rundown of the UI. We can obviously get into some more specific bits later on, but for now, let's maybe start off just at the top and have a listen to some of these Arp patches. First one is Broken Organ Swell. Just going to dip back into the main mix page so you can see all the macros moving around. And let's maybe just play like a simple kind of chord thing so we can see what the Arp's doing. So as you can hear with a lot of these, they are velocity sensitive as well. And just quickly before we get into any more of these Arp patches, I'll just show you the Arp page in action so you can see how everything's moving. So as you can see for this particular patch, it's just turned on for channel 1. That is pretty cool, being able to do the Arp on a per channel basis if you maybe want something paddy underneath and then something more rhythmic kind of over the top. So let's listen to a few more of these Arp ones. Christmas time. Nice kind of chimey bell sort of thing. Nice, like that one, a bit more synthy. And just skip through and do a couple more. Just a little sample of some of the Arp patches. Some really nice stuff in there. I'm noticing that the CPU use is kind of high, I guess, on some of these more sort of complex ones where the Arp is happening and also the macros are all going at the same time as well. But obviously this is going to depend on what sort of CPU and system you have, whether that's going to be a problem. They do have a really nice sound to them though. I was kind of, I can't remember which one it was, the descending... Yeah, descending synthetic triplets one was super cool. So if we just go into the Arp one for this one, you can see it's just turned on a couple more of the channels there. And let's, for fun, just maybe switch up one of the sound sources. So at the minute we're on violin cassettes, yeah, which I'm guessing is from the orchestral category, but maybe let's change that to something in keys and tune percussion. Let's just go for a marimba and see how that sounds. Let's just jump back into the mixer so we can see what's going on. I'll just turn that center marimba channel up. So yeah, really nice to be able to swap out sound sources and still keep the kind of, you know, feel and rhythm and everything else of the patch going. You know, just nice that the sounds aren't kind of baked in. So although you start off with 100 snapshots and presets, that, you know, soon becomes many more once you start editing. Okay, I'll just do maybe a couple more from the end of the Arp category. Sweeping string arps, let's try that one. I really like these. I think they sound great, and they've been kind of, I think, quite sort of tastefully done with the ARPs and stuff. But because of the flexibility, being able to, you know, literally change anything in the ARP and stuff like that, you really can get away from the preset quite quickly. So that's a few of the ARPs, but let's take a listen to some of the playable stuff. Kind of a bigger category, this one. And let's just maybe go old tape orchestra. So as you can hear, this one's kind of more split out across the keyboard. So they are going to take a little bit of kind of learning and practice to learn where everything falls within the key range, or obviously you can alter it if you want to yourself. So let's have a little listen to some of these layers on their own then. Because the thing I do find with some libraries is that the full patches sound amazing on their own, sound really cool. But you know, they're very kind of full featured, they're really sort of full frequency, and they take up a lot of space in a mix. So I think a lot of the time, to fit it into something you've already written, you might want to be using some of these layered sections just on their own. So this is the burnt strings. And some lo-fi brass. And on the end we have viola on 2-inch pressing tape. It's kind of cool having a library that's been processed with similar sort of sound methods, because they do work nicely together. I can kind of see a lot of these patches, you know, that kind of mimic like a big string sound or big orchestra sort of thing. Been quite nice to maybe layer with, you know, just a natural string sound as well. You can kind of use it to maybe add some grit or kind of sort of warmth into something that you've already played. Let's just cycle through and do a few more. So this one's spread out across the full key range. Some of these patches for me have a kind of cooler sort of sci-fi classic vibe to them, which is nice. Just skip through a few more. Cool one. There's a lot going on this. As you can see, all the macros are kind of going pretty crazy. And if we jump into the macro sequencer, yeah, it's almost on a kind of like a randomizer sort of function. Let's just choose a couple more. It's nice, that one. I really like that one. Let's try this one. Nice. Organ failure. Cool, yeah, I like a lot of these. There are a few that I'm kind of not massive keen on, but yeah, there's definitely some nice stuff in here. And again, this is very much kind of just out of the box. We're not really playing with too many of the controls as of yet. Let's just go down the list a little bit more then. Let's try opening credits. really sort of picture this working well in a kind of like sci-fi sort of show, because it is organic and it's got a lot of warmth, but it's got this kind of slightly futuristic kind of vibe as well, all sort of mixed together. All right, let's just do one more and then we'll move on to the rhythm stuff. Kind of paddy one there, really nice. I just want to try that aging stuff on this one. Let's crank the wear up and then move the warble up and see what we get. It's nice, man. You can go from kind of it's quite extreme, which is nice, like the amount of warble you can put on, because I always think in the lower zones it's kind of a nice little soft, almost tremolo-y type effect, and then up at the top when the pitch is kind of crazier you sort of get much more dissonant kind of things going on. Yeah, I think this is going to be a fun control. Okay, so let's get back to the mix section and take a listen to some of the rhythmic stuff. So I think I'm right in saying that these rhythmic patches are just rhythmic kind of baked in. So these rhythms are going to be as played, but they will sync to your host tempo. Okay, so let's listen to a few more. So I mean, they are quite simple rhythmic patterns anyway, a lot of just sort of simple sort of pulse stuff. So they probably should fit in quite nicely with what you've written. You know, the rhythms aren't sort of too crazy, and should be nice for just adding a little bit of motion to something. Let's do a few more. So let's just see how many more we've got left in this category. Okay, so yeah, we're about halfway through of those, just selecting a few of them anyway. Let's try some string cassettes. It's nice, I like that. Nice, I like that one as well. Let's see, let's go for tape motor roads. Nice. I like a lot of the rhythmic stuff. As I say, I think it'd be simple enough to fit in with things and just add that layer of interest. And you can actually, you know, just sort of go back to the playable section and maybe just turn the gate on. So, you know, you can kind of get a lot more rhythmic stuff out of the rest of the library as well. But I think it's kind of a really nice amount of patches to go for to start with. Definitely enough in here as a starting point anyway. So yeah, that's probably it for this one, guys. I've tried to keep it sort of short and sweet and but show you kind of enough of what's going on. There's definitely more that you can dive into on some of the controls, but I hope that most of it's you know, sort of fairly self-explanatory with what's going on in here. But I think it definitely does well at two things that I'd look for in a library, which is does it sound good sort of out of the box, and if it does sound good out of the box, how easy is it to then bend that and customize that to your own productions. So yeah, I think Heavyocity have done really well on that front, and as with all of their products, the UI is always kind of really nice as well to back up a lot of the sound sources. And like I say, because they're all sort of processed with tape in mind, they do kind of have a cohesive feel. It feels more like one sort of big instrument as opposed to just a random library of really kind of varied sounds. So yeah, that wraps it up from me, guys. Any questions, just let me know in the comments, because I'm probably going to be using this a bit more over the next few days as well. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again on the next one.